Personally, here's where I think they didn't do a very good job, and that was with Kelsey Mitchell, who's an unrestricted free agent, because Kelsey Mitchell had a hell of a season this season, and I don't think she got the credit that she deserved.
Do you remember the time when Sheryl Swoopes stirred the pot with that comment? Well, it seems Kelsey Mitchell has finally reached her breaking point. After months of silence, scripted interviews, and endless media chatter, the Indiana Fever veteran just unleashed a wave of raw truth that shook the entire WNBA narrative surrounding Caitlin Clark. Kelsey decided enough was enough. It was time to shut down the drama and restore the respect her team truly deserves. During a recent sit-down, she was asked about her journey with the Fever, from those difficult early years to now making back-to-back playoff runs. What changed? How did the team evolve naturally into what it is today? This wasn't some casual comment or friendly praise. Mitchell's words hit differently. They carried power, credibility, and emotion because of who she is, a leader, a fighter, and the voice of authenticity in the WNBA conversation. When Kelsey Mitchell speaks, it's never just another post-game quote. It's experience, survival, and truth-talking. She's battled through some of the darkest years in Indiana Fever history. She's led rosters so thin they looked like last-minute experiments, endured coaching changes, crushing defeats, and long seasons of being overlooked. Yet through it all, she never stopped showing up. Night after night, she scored, she led, and she kept pulling this franchise out of the shadows. Kelsey Mitchell isn't just a player. She's the very backbone of Indiana basketball, the heartbeat that refused to quit. Do you stand with Kelsey? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And then came Caitlin, a player who didn't just join the Fever. She changed the entire basketball landscape. As both a friend and a teammate, Kelsey's learned to truly appreciate her. Caitlin's arrival opened doors that once seemed locked and brought a new energy to the franchise. Mitchell praised her for embracing the pressure with grace, for welcoming her teammates with open arms, and for helping make something special happen in Indiana. I think it took a combination of major pieces and relentless effort to build what the Fever have now. And that's exactly why this interview hits so deeply. When you ask Kelsey Mitchell about Caitlin Clark, you don't get some rehearsed PR answer or a shallow, "she's a great teammate" cliche. You get the truth, raw, unfiltered, and real. What Mitchell delivered wasn't just praise, it was a reality check. She confirmed what countless fans already feel in their hearts, but what a few critics still deny. Caitlin Clark has completely transformed the game of basketball, that she's not just a rising star or another name on the roster. She's a movement, a cultural revolution in sneakers and a jersey. And the fact that those words came from Kelsey Mitchell, the one player who had every reason to side-eye the hype, makes it absolutely monumental that you've truly reshaped the world in ways most people can only dream of. You've handled it all with unshakable poise and grace, and I'm genuinely grateful to walk this path forward with you. Being part of this journey feels like an honor that I also want to remind you. Give yourself some grace too. What you've accomplished is something very few ever will. From me to you, know this: I'll always be a fan. I'll always stand in your corner, and I'll always be right there in your backcourt, supporting you every single step of the way. Mitchell looked straight into the camera and, in her own powerful way, made it clear, without Caitlin, none of this exists. The packed arenas, the primetime broadcasts, the global buzz, that's all Clark's impact. And instead of resisting it, Mitchell chose to embrace it with genuine respect. No bitterness, no shade, just honesty. And here's the part that cuts deep for people like Swoopes. This wasn't flattery or empty talk. It was respect grounded in truth and balance. Because while Kelsey openly acknowledged that Caitlin Clark has revolutionized the league, she also sent a quiet reminder before Clark ever arrived. It was Mitchell who kept the Fever's flame burning. She carried the weight, kept the team relevant, and laid the foundation. So when the spotlight finally showed up, Indiana was ready to shine. But think about it. Kelsey Mitchell has been with Indiana through absolutely everything. From the long, painful rebuilds to finally reaching the semifinals, she never walked away. She stayed loyal when others might have quit, grinding year after year to help the Fever find their rhythm again. When asked what it feels like to finally see it all come together, to sit through the hard seasons and now watch it pay off, her story becomes a blueprint for every young athlete out there, boy or girl, player or dreamer. This is the same Kelsey Mitchell who carried Indiana through those brutal 5-win seasons, who showed up night after night even when the odds were stacked against her. And while some jealous veterans, now sitting behind media desks, couldn't resist taking shots at Caitlin Clark, Mitchell never stooped to that level. She didn't need to tear anyone down. She let her game and her grace speak louder than any headline ever could, ChatGPT said. She didn't sugarcoat anything. She just spoke the truth. Kelsey laid out the timeline plain and simple. She kept the lights on when things were dark, and Caitlin Clark brought the electricity that reignited the franchise. Together, they're building something bigger, brighter, and completely unstoppable. And that's exactly what makes this moment so powerful. Because while Sheryl Swoopes, despite all her legendary achievements, seems to have made it a personal mission to downplay Clark's rise, constantly questioning her stats, doubting her accolades, and implying the hype is somehow fake, Mitchell's honesty sliced through all that noise. She didn't just defend a teammate. She stood up for the future of women's basketball itself. Kelsey reminded everyone that Caitlin Clark isn't here to rewrite or erase the game's history. She's here to elevate it, expand it, and push the WNBA into a new era that you've made the playoffs 2 years in a row now. What sparked this major turnaround? How do you see the team's growth from the inside? Oh man, Kelsey laughed. A lot of credit goes to the organization for really taking the time to rebuild the right way. Our draft picks turned out huge. Lexi Hull was a major get, then came Caitlin, then Aaliyah Boston. You put all that talent together with my experience, all the battles I went through before they arrived, and it just clicked. It was like a perfect storm of chemistry and timing. She went on to explain that being still young herself helped her connect with the new wave of talent. We got to grow together, vibe together, and really understand each other, not just as players, but as people. And that's what made it feel like something real, something built to last. And then, of course, you bring in Caitlin, a player who literally changed the game and redefined the energy around basketball. As both a friend and a teammate, Kelsey said she's grown to truly appreciate her. Certain doors have opened because Caitlin came to the fever, she admitted. You have to respect that. The brilliance of Mitchell's words lies in how they do two things at once. They lift Caitlin up while quietly exposing the pettiness behind Sheryl Swoopes' criticism because, let's be honest, if a player like Kelsey Mitchell, who had every reason to feel overshadowed by the media storm around Clark, can show nothing but respect and unity, then why can't Swoopes? Why would one of the game's greatest legends spend more energy tearing down Clark than celebrating the way she's expanding women's basketball to new audiences? That's the uncomfortable truth Kelsey just placed front and center, and it's a question the WNBA world can't ignore anymore. This wasn't just another comment. It was a full-on mic drop moment. A seismic statement from one of Indiana's most loyal veterans who finally drew a line in the sand and said, "That's it. Enough." Kelsey Mitchell has endured the grind, carried the franchise through its toughest years, and now, standing beside Caitlin Clark, she's helping build something far bigger than basketball. Because here's the truth. Real leadership isn't about who talks the loudest. It's about who stands firm when it counts the most. Mitchell stood tall. She highlighted Clark's undeniable impact while exposing the jealousy that's been festering in the background. The Fever are no longer just surviving. They're rising, thriving, and rewriting their story. And as for Sheryl Swoopes, she just got called out, not by noise, but by someone who's actually earned the right to speak. This year, you were named an MVP finalist, with even Wnba calling your season the best by any guard in the entire league. What does it feel like to finally receive that kind of recognition and get your flowers? "Oh, I really appreciate that," Kelsey said with a smile. "I've been through a lot over the course of my career with the Indiana Fever. It's been my longest journey ever, honestly. So for me, it's humbling to look back and see how far I've come, from where it all started to where it is now. I've learned to really respect the game, to lean on it, to build bonds and friendships through it. And now, a few years later, you can actually see the results of all that growth and commitment." Kelsey Mitchell's loyalty to Indiana has never been about fame or headlines. It's been about legacy, love for the game, and lifting others along the way. For years, Kelsey Mitchell's loyalty went unnoticed, buried beneath losing seasons, endless rebuilds, and broken promises. But now, in 2025, that dedication is finally paying off. Not just through stats or wins, but through something far more meaningful, legacy. Her recent remarks didn't simply acknowledge Caitlin Clark's impact. They amplified it, all while subtly reaffirming her own value to the franchise. That's the real brilliance of Kelsey Mitchell's words. She didn't turn it into a battle between eras, between veteran and rookie, or between old and new. Instead, she reminded everyone that true leadership doesn't fear competition, it thrives on it. It welcomes new energy, embraces change, and uses it as motivation to grow stronger. And that's exactly why fans across the WNBA are still analyzing and celebrating what she said, because it wasn't just a comment. It was a statement of legacy and growth. That IT didn't go viral because it was flashy or scripted. It resonated because it was real. That authenticity hit the league like a thunderclap, shaking a culture too often clouded by jealousy, ego, and petty rivalries. Over the past year, the WNBA conversation has been dominated by drama. Players like Aya Wilson throwing side-eye and Sheryl Swoopes, once a pioneer of the game, spending more time questioning Caitlin Clark than celebrating how far the sport has come. But Kelsey Mitchell flipped that entire narrative on its head. She proved that you can celebrate a generational star without losing your own shine, that you can speak truth without bitterness, and that confidence and humility can coexist. That in doing so, Mitchell gave the WNBA exactly what it's been missing: authenticity, unity, and a reminder of what real leadership looks like. "Oh man, it's an unbelievable experience," Kelsey said, her voice filled with gratitude. "It's a moment I don't ever want to take for granted. I just want to soak it all in and appreciate it fully. I'm trying to use this time not just to enjoy success, but to keep growing. Everything I've been through, all the mental challenges, all the tough seasons, that's what's helping me stay grounded right now. At the end of the day, I just love basketball for what it is. I love the game, and I'm having fun again." But to truly understand why Mitchell's words landed with such force, you have to rewind the clock, back to the early rebuild years. Back to when Lexi Hull first joined the Fever, and Indiana was still treated like a league afterthought, the easy team to overlook or joke about. That's where Kelsey Mitchell's story of perseverance really begins. In the struggle before the spotlight ever arrived, wins were rare. Losses came like clockwork, and the franchise sat buried under layers of irrelevance and frustration. During those brutal years, it was Kelsey Mitchell who faced the cameras after every defeat, smiling through the pain, repeating the same optimistic cliches about progress and building blocks, even when everyone knew it would take more than words to fix things. She wasn't just playing basketball. She was carrying an entire franchise on her back, like a lone survivor crawling through the desert, refusing to give up. And then came Aaliyah Boston, the first real spark of hope. Her arrival didn't just add talent. It brought renewed belief, a sense that maybe, finally, Indiana's long drought was beginning to end. Aaliyah Boston arrived like a cornerstone, a true post anchor with superstar potential. Her presence felt like planting a flag in the middle of barren land. Finally, there was something real to build around. And then came Caitlin Clark, a supernova who didn't just transform the Indiana Fever, she reshaped the entire sports media landscape. With her arrival, Indiana went from afterthought to headline. Suddenly, the same franchise no one cared to watch was selling out arenas, breaking TV records, and commanding national attention. Through it all, Kelsey Mitchell never sulked, never ran, never acted threatened. She welcomed the reinforcements, understanding that true growth doesn't happen alone. That's why her words about Caitlin Clark carry so much weight, because she's lived both realities of the Fever, the years of irrelevance and the glory of resurrection. That as she put it best, "I love having her as a teammate. She's handled everything with so much grace and welcomed all of us with open arms to make this thing happen." Aaliyah Boston arrived like a foundation stone, a dominant force with undeniable superstar potential. Her presence felt like planting a flag in a desert of disappointment, signaling the start of something worth believing in again. At last, Indiana had a core, a future to build around. Then came Caitlin Clark, not just a player, but a phenomenon, a supernova who completely redefined the Indiana Fever and bent the sports world to her orbit. With her arrival, the Fever went from being overlooked to being the main event. Suddenly, A franchise that once struggled to fill seats was selling out arenas, shattering viewership records, and dominating every sports headline. And through all of that transformation, Kelsey Mitchell stayed grounded. She didn't complain, didn't fade into the background, and never acted threatened. Instead, she embraced the change, welcoming her new teammates with grace and gratitude, knowing that true progress is a team effort. That's why Mitchell's words about Clark carry so much weight, because she's lived both sides of the story. The lonely grind of irrelevance and the thrilling rebirth of a contender. As she perfectly put it, I love having her as a teammate. She's handled everything with so much grace and welcomed us all with open arms to make this thing happen. She's not just changed the game, she's healed it. According to Kelsey Mitchell, Caitlin Clark didn't come to hoard the spotlight. She came to create an orbit where everyone around her could thrive. And that distinction makes all the difference that we've seen super teams fall apart in other leagues. Too many egos, not enough chemistry, and the weight of hype crushing everything. But Clark has completely avoided that trap. She doesn't chase glory or dominate possessions. Instead, she plays like the sun, radiating energy so that everyone else shines brighter. Mitchell herself is living proof. Since Clark's arrival, her entire profile has skyrocketed. She's more efficient, clutch in big moments, and finally receiving the national recognition that had eluded her for years. Without Caitlin, Kelsey might have stayed one of the league's best-kept secrets. With her, she's become a household name. And the best part? Mitchell doesn't envy that. She embraces it. The mutual respect is real, and it's reshaping the Fever from the inside out. Before Game 1, Clark even joked about being fined $200 for stepping onto the court. Mitchell laughed it off, teasing, "So, do we have a locker room fund for her, or is she covering that one herself?" A small moment that showed exactly what makes this team so special: trust, unity, and joy. Sign of a healthy culture. ChatGPT said, "Oh man, I'm pretty sure someone covered it for her," Mitchell said with a grin. What people don't always realize about Caitlin is that she's actually hilarious. She's got this unbelievable sense of humor. To the outside world, Clark's viral tweet about being fine might have seemed like arrogance or immaturity. But to those inside the Fever locker room, it was pure gold. The tweet was just the tweet, Mitchell laughed. But if you really know Cece, you know it's nothing but love. That's just her way of showing support. With humor, with energy, with that playful spark she brings every single day. Inside the team, Clark's so-called fine wasn't a controversy. It was comedy, connection, and chemistry. The locker room burst into laughter, taking it as another reminder of Clark's lighthearted personality that the public rarely sees. Mitchell couldn't have said it better. Outsiders can misread it however they want. But within this group, that moment was the definition of team culture. Players who can laugh together, trust each other, and celebrate their shared energy. That's not drama. That's Caitlin being Caitlin. And that's what winning environments are built on. That if there were any resentment toward Caitlin Clark, that tweet would have blown up into drama overnight. But it didn't, because this team isn't fractured. It's bonded. That lighthearted moment became proof that the Fever are united behind their star. And that unity has created something downright terrifying for the rest of the WNBA. Indiana's Fab Four, Mitchell, Clark, Boston, and Hull. Together, they're not just a playoff team. They're a blueprint for a dynasty. And at the heart of it, Kelsey Mitchell isn't just along for the ride. She's invested. She's all in. She even hinted she'd take less money if it meant keeping this core together. In today's sports world, where max contracts and brand deals dominate, that kind of loyalty is nearly extinct. But for Mitchell, the math is simple. Legacy, paycheck. She sees what's being built in Indiana, and she knows it's bigger than individual stats or contracts. The Fever aren't the league's doormat anymore. They're the storm. With Clark's gravity, Boston's dominance in the paint, Hull's relentless hustle, and Mitchell's killer scoring instinct, this team isn't chasing a moment. They're building an era, and for the first time in a long time, the rest of the league knows that it's not just about winning games anymore. It's about building a culture that outlasts any single player. And Kelsey Mitchell knows it. That's why her message to the rest of the league is clear. Indiana isn't going anywhere. Even through the storm of injuries, including Caitlin Clark's, the Fever's identity hasn't cracked. In fact, Mitchell says what makes this team special is its sideline strength. Oh man, It's unbelievable, she said. We've got vet experience with Sydney Colson. She's a winner. She's a champion. And Kayla. She's a PG who can pass the ball. So when I come off the floor, I get feedback from some of the best players in the league. That's what separates the Fever from the pack. It's not just talent, it's trust. When Mitchell steps off the court, she's not losing control of the game. She's gaining perspective. I don't take those moments for granted, she added. It's a chance to see the game from a different angle. And it means a lot knowing they have confidence in me to make plays. That's the heart of this new Indiana culture: collaboration, humility, and belief. It's no longer about one name on the jersey. It's about the legacy being built behind it. Some skeptics may roll their eyes at the notion that friendship could build a dynasty, but the scoreboard doesn't lie. The results silence every critic. Kelsey Mitchell believes in it. Caitlin Clark fuels it. Aaliyah Boston anchors it. And Lexi Hull embodies it. Together, they've taken a franchise once buried in mediocrity and turned it into the most electric story in basketball. The Fever don't just crave respect anymore. They command it. And they're earning it night after night. Mitchell's comments about Caitlin Clark weren't just compliments. They were a mission statement. In essence, she said, Clark has transformed everything, and I'm all in. No jealousy, no resentment, no ego, just gratitude, unity, and a hunger to grow together. That kind of mindset is almost extinct in professional sports, and that's exactly why Indiana feels different. And here's where Sheryl Swoopes steps into the picture. While Mitchell builds bridges, Swoopes seems intent on burning them. Instead of celebrating growth, she uses her platform to question Clark's stardom, label her success as hype, and sow unnecessary division. But Mitchell's words quietly expose that hypocrisy, because if a seasoned veteran like Kelsey Mitchell, someone who had every reason to feel overshadowed, can embrace Clark's rise with grace, then the real question is, why can't Sheryl Swoopes? Why is one of the game's legends so determined to tear down Caitlin Clark instead of celebrating what she's doing for the game? That's the uncomfortable truth Kelsey Mitchell's words dragged into the spotlight. Because at the end of the day, Mitchell didn't just defend Caitlin Clark. She stood beside her. She embraced her. She validated her. And in doing so, she sent a message to the league's old guard. Either recognize what's happening in Indiana or get left behind. Because if Mitchell, Clark, Boston, and Hull stay united, the WNBA isn't just witnessing a contender. It's witnessing the birth of a dynasty. The Fever aren't chasing relevance anymore. They are the standard, and Sheryl Swoopes, with all her bitterness and deflection, she's already standing on the wrong side of history. Do you stand with Kelsey? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on your screen, and we'll see you in the next one.